Afternoon, everybody. We are here with Mr. Ramanan, who is the Mission Director for Atal Innovation Mission, as you already know. We have a regional mentor of change with us, Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan, and we also have an ATL in charge, Mrs. Bhagyalakshmi. This session is going to be a discussion on inclusive innovation through Atal Tinkering Labs. As we all know, innovation is at the heart of our mission. And one of the things that we really care about is making it as inclusive as we could. I would now hand it over to Mr. Ramanan to take this discussion forward.
Mr. Ramanan is muted.
Muted, yeah.
Sir, if you could unmute yourself and then start again. Yeah. Or the host can also unmute. So.
So Vedant should be able to unmute.
Yes, sir, we can start now.
We can start? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. And it is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to come back and connect with all of you who are today present on this particular call. It's a very, very engaging discussion that we are going to have along with Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan, who is a regional mentor of change based in Tamil Nadu, as well as with Dr. Bhagyalakshmi, who is the ATL in charge in the Ram Gopal Garodia School, Government Girls Higher Secondary School in Chennai. First of all, I do hope that every one of you are very safe in the safety of your homes, and you're also following the necessary safeguards that one should be practicing during this COVID-19 very trying times. First of all, I want to congratulate all the Atal Tinkering Labs students, the teachers, the principals, the mentors who are attending this call and even beyond for having kept yourself very busy even during these lockdown periods by engaging in a number of Tinker from Home modules that Atal Innovation Mission has introduced since March 22nd. All of you are aware that there are 4 modules that we had introduced. One was on digital creativity and skills for the mentors of change, as well as for the ATL in charges, where if you go through that, you will get a certificate. The artificial intelligence, learn it yourself, do it yourself modules, in which a number of other YouTube sessions were also introduced. The game development modules along with Dell Technologies, that now many of you are involved in creating games rather than just playing games. And there were 2 modules introduced there. One was the intermediate, the beginners module using Scratch, and the intermediate module using. And fourthly, we also introduced the 3D design module called CollabCAD. And that was along with NIC. And this is enabling you to design 3D designs of various products, which when you go back to your school and use your 3D printers, you will be able to create the products or the artifacts which you have designed. Now, all of these are very, very important learnings, tools, and technologies that is needed in the innovation game. But as all of you are aware, the Atal Tinkering Labs are a very important initiative. It is a game-changing initiative that is spreading across India. We have selected 14,000 schools for implementation of Atal Tinkering Labs as of this date. Those list of those schools are already announced. We have 5,000 schools who are already fully operational. In fact, 5,124 schools are now operational with Atal Tinkering Labs. And my assumption is that before the end of this year, you're going to have more than 10,000 operating labs. Of course, the labs become operational when you complete your documentation and the due diligence that is required in order for us to be able to disburse the grant to you. More importantly, we have more than 2.5 million students participating in this entire Atal Tinkering Lab movement. And the whole idea of the Atal Tinkering Lab, as all of you are aware, is to be able to enable every one of you young student who is on this call, and to enable the teachers and the mentors to guide these young students towards problem solving, towards innovative thinking, towards acquiring an entrepreneurial mindset. And along with, so we are having all these technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics. Many of them have augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits. And with these kits, you start looking at problems in and around the community. Instead of complaining about the problems, you become a problem solver. You become an innovator, and you unleash that creativity that is within you, that inherent innovative talent that is within you. You give a talent through these challenges that you solve for the community. And these are problems that you see every day. You know, you come from your off school to your home, you go from your home to your neighbor's place, you go to the playground, you go to a hospital, you go to a theater, you go to a mall. You see many problems either related to hygiene, or it's related to traffic management, or it is related to security and surveillance. It may be related, if you're in a remote area, it may be related to an agricultural problem that your farmers in that field face. There are many problems that need a solution, and you now become a problem solver using these technologies. And when you go into the universities, you will now get a chance through the incubators that we are implementing in the universities to become a startup, to become an innovator, to become a job creator. That is the ambition, that is the aspiration of all these Atal Tinkering Labs. And I'm sure every one of you is participating wholeheartedly in this journey. Like I said, we have more than 5,000 schools now which are operational. But what is very important is 70% of these schools are government-aided schools. And 70% of these schools are girls and co-ed schools. There are more than 557 all-girls schools as a part of our Atal Tinkering Lab. Now, why is this so important? You know that 50% of our country are women and girls, but it is less than 13% of our entrepreneurs in the industry are girls or women. We have less than 13% who are women. And if we increase this number from 13% to 50%, which is possible because all of you young girls are getting the benefits of education, and you are capable of becoming innovators, you are capable of becoming entrepreneurs, you are capable of becoming job creators. So if we do that, that will be a major transformation of our economy, and the entire country can develop because of you becoming the next innovator. So the whole approach for Atal Tinkering Labs has been an inclusive approach. Ensure that every school in every district, we have 733 districts in our country, and more than 660 districts have Atal Tinkering Labs, so that students in even the aspirational districts, whether you're a district in a coastal part of the country, in Orissa, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, if you're in the Northeast, you're in the Jammu and Kashmir, in Ladakh, it doesn't matter. We have our Atal Tinkering Labs spread everywhere so that all the young students get a chance to become innovators. Now, in this journey, the role of the Atal Tinkering Lab Incharge, ATL Incharge that we call, and we have enlisted the voluntary services of professional mentors across the country, mentors who are highly qualified, who are engaged in research, innovation, people like Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan, who is a professor in biotechnology. And she is working in a reputed university. She is involved in research and innovation. And we have got more than 4,800 mentors who have volunteered to become mentors of change in the Atal Innovation Mission movement. And this is something very heartening. So the two people who are very important in this whole equation are the ATL in charges, who ensure that the Atal Tinkering Lab in their school is actually being utilized by the students, and they are creating a very innovative breed of students from their school. And second is the mentor of change, who is voluntarily bringing their expertise, their capabilities, their knowledge in innovation, in research, in the industry to bear upon the young students as well as the teacher. It is not the mentor of change, it is a mentor of change for the school. And that includes the teacher, the students, where they can assist. They are a guide, they are the friend, they are the philosopher. They are not a principal for you. The mentor of change is actually a person who is your friend and who is helping you and giving direction to your thoughts and your innovation. So both of them play a very important role. And I'm delighted today that we are having two very prominent people within our system who have played an extraordinarily important role in this movement, both Dr. Bhagyalakshmi as well as Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan. So at this point in time, I will ask Dr. Bhagyalakshmi to introduce herself, her background, and her impressions, initial impressions of this Atal Tinkering Lab. And then I would request Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan also to do so simultaneously. So over to you, Dr. Bhagyalakshmi.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. I am Bhagyalakshmi. As a science teacher, my work experience is 10 years in the government sector. Previously, I was working in a private matriculation school. But apart from this, my science test stream, so I'm additionally taking the in charge of the Atal Tinkering Lab past 2 years. So our school is selected in the second phase only we got it. So from that, the day one, from the documentations till now, I am the in charge for that. So I'm proud to one of the part of our Atal Tinkering Lab. And our students are doing very good. We got 2 times month of the year and month of the school awards. Plus, addition to that, we participated in TNIC state level program, entrepreneurship programs, and so many lot of events. After entering the Atal, our school be a proud in our Chennai, number one in the Chennai government schools. Oh, it's
Yeah, thank you, Bhagyalakshmi. And Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan, can you just give a brief of your background and what has motivated you to become a mentor of change?
So I'm a professor of biotechnology and I run a center in a private university in Chennai. We have a biotechnology research lab and I run a student startup center. So the Mentor of Change program is a good way to give back to the society because I have used a lot of government resources in my higher education for my CSIR fellowship. So it's good to give back. So having said that, I think I'm getting a lot more from the ATL labs than what I'm giving. So the ATL labs, it's a lot of fun to work with the labs and my colleagues in my department also help me with providing technical support in the ATL lab. So the main thing I think what is very satisfying is we get a chance to find out what children think. And for our research, if we are able to explain our research to a 6th or 7th standard child, I think that makes us feel good. And similarly, when our students have ideas for a startup, we can get a quick validation from a student when the students come during a science day program and other things. And there are some very, very good incisive questions that 6th or 7th standard child would ask, which anybody else would have been afraid to, nervous to ask. Yeah, so it's been a very nice journey with the ATL labs.
Excellent, excellent. So you just mentioned that you learn a lot, even as you contribute to the success of an Atal Tinkering Lab, Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan. And you also mentioned that children are very free in coming up and asking questions, which maybe even in a university environment, you will not find students willingly revealing their ignorance, so to speak. But at the school level, children are always eager to learn and they don't mind asking you the most basic of questions if they have not understood it. So from your point of view, when you have gone to, how did you start? First, for that, you need to make the children feel very comfortable with you as a mentor. And you also need to make the teacher, ATL in charge, very comfortable with you as a mentor. Because the students should be able to approach you and they should be able to learn from you. And you should be able to, they should say, hey, Dr. Rama has come to my school. I want to eagerly, I'm waiting for her to ask this question and to solve this problem. How do you create that sense of comfort in the student? Because that is so important for the students to open up. And particularly in a school, you may find some children are very natural and very bold in approaching you, and there are some who are shy, but who are very, very capable. How do you draw them out of their shell? What are the tricks of the trade that you would use so that other mentors can learn from it and benefit from it?
Yeah, so this doesn't happen overnight. It's a period of learning over a period of time. So when we started with the Atal Tinkering Lab, so Bhagya wanted me to talk to every child from six to eighth or ninth. So we made five groups of 60 students each, and I and my colleague Bhuvna, we did some programs where we made them we used a lot of activities from the ATL curriculum. It was very, very tiring to do the six hat thinking or other things, and have children group up and come up and speak in front. But it was very rewarding. After some time we found that we could figure out what children wanted to hear when where there was an emotional connect. So the children were very clued on to what was happening around them. So if we divide them into teams and call them RCB and Chennai cricket team, so they get very excited. So that is something that we learned. And if there is something in the news which concerns the child, for example, in Tamil Nadu, there was a story of a child getting stuck in a borewell. So all the children were so concerned and they all wanted to ideate on how to help. So I think the main thing is to find out what children are interested in and how do we get an emotional connect. So we did these sort of large, big group programs for about 2 months, very tiring, but it was worth it because, so what the difference was, when there was one of the monthly theme competitions and the drone challenge. So then we asked students to come up with ideas. Then this 200, 300 students, slowly it came down to a few 20 or 30, because it's not just enough to come up with an idea. The child also needs to have a commitment to come back the next day and do what they have promised to do. So, and our center supported the students by getting them a small drone and getting them to get a feel out of it. And then, slowly, once two of the student groups got selected, that recognition and celebration, that makes a huge impact on the children. So once a group of students were recognized, then a lot of other students who were not very concerned, they came in, and slowly the ATL group has made a group. There are about 20-25 students who come to the ATL lab every day and work. And one of the other things that we also did was, we invited all of these students, about 150 students, to my own innovation center in the university. And that was a nice experience because there were youngsters who were explaining their own projects to the students. And that is so much better because the age difference is much less. And my students also benefited by presenting their ideas to small children, because one, we have to speak in the vernacular language, and students cannot hide behind techniques or terms like artificial intelligence, neural network. Mine is a nanotechnology project, because they have to say something which is meaningful to the students. So I think it's a win-win situation, inviting the students, and then over a period of time, when we have sessions where every time we want the students to give their point of view, encourage them to ask questions, then I think it builds up.
So thank you, Dr. Rama, and you brought out many, many interesting points and best practices, which I'm sure many others relate to or learn from or add to. The most important thing I think that you said is, first you have to build the emotional connection between the children and the teacher in charge as well as the mentor, so that they all get involved. Secondly, you also said how you use, you group them into 6 groups or 7 groups of 60 students each, and then how you had a very focused approach to all of these students, that engaging them, giving them certain names which are exciting and which are contemporary. For example, you are using the Chennai Kings or the RCB and so on and so forth to build in a sense of competitive spirit, which is very important, because the children should have that competitive spirit. When you are going out into the world, you deal with competition all the time. So you are introducing that competitive spirit. The third thing you mentioned was how you take advantage of some of the current happenings and convert them into challenges. For example, the event that happened in the city and everybody got concerned about, and then you threw it as a challenge to the students and said, how can you become a part of the solution instead of just feeling bad about the problem? And then the fourth thing that you mentioned is that you were encouraging them in terms of taking them to your own lab, allowing them to see what innovation is all about, having them interact with the senior students, sharing their stories to them and sharing the stories of the senior students from the university back to them. So there is a cross pollination of ideas and a flow of ideas in all of this. And then you also said how important recognition is, because recognition gives everybody the desire to be recognized and therefore the desire to perform and to excel. And all of these have to come together in order for this whole thing to work. Now I go to Bhagyalakshmi. Ms. Bhagyalakshmi, as an ATL in charge, your first challenge has always, the first challenge for a principal as well as the ATL in charge is that you have to make this Atal Tinkering Lab operational. You have to have a process and a system by which students, you have, I don't know, maybe 300, 400 students or 500 students. Our expectation is that at least 400 to 500 students would be using this Atal Tinkering Labs. How did you go about operationalizing this process? Did you refer to the Atal Tinkering Lab manuals that we have created, as well as the various sessions that we have had, the various emails that I have personally sent? How do you go about putting all this together and making a lab operational and effective? What is your secret sauce behind that?
Yes, sir. So actually, starting at all and getting permission from that aim is little bit tougher task.
Yeah.
The documentation procedures and all, it's new to us, but somehow we did it. In that part, we are lagged for about 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So yeah, submitting of that application and they're getting approval, that blueprint and all. After once that after that amount is sanctioned, then getting it that time there is no e-portal, our link is not there. So that time that getting a vendor is a very tough task for us. We are in the second phase. We are in the second phase. Okay, that now everything is non digitalized. So the forthcoming say Atal schools are very lucky, but we faced those problems. So apologize that these are all the phases we there. I mean, as a teacher, as a principal, we don't know how to approach and how to document it and everything. But after that, it is easier. Now that whatever we are giving that prescribed manuals and that strategies and that lesson plans and curriculum and all is very useful. So first 6 months we lagged due to that insufficient support from the both sides. So then we operated from July only, July to last year. One more thing is, this is a additional burden. They are feeling that this is the additional burden of the teachers. They are thinking. So as a Atal in charge, I first that first I have to understand, realize the teachers to recognize what we are having, what is the privilege we will get it from this, and what are all the advantages, how it will be helpful to our curriculum. That is a major task I faced. So first I conducted the meeting with our colleagues, then that science teachers. I given some workshops, and first I had to motivate them to appreciate the children who are all participating in that. So after that only we introduced along with our curriculum, along with our timetable. So 1 hour is allocated for that at a lab. So now we are practicing regularly. After the we got luckily we got that support from Dell.
Every class has a 1 hour session in the lab every week.
Yeah, every week 1 hour, 1 period, 40 minutes period. So that's not sufficient, sir, that I am I'm telling. 40 minutes is not sufficient because my school strength is high, more than 550 from 6th to 10th. Each class have 45 to 50. So interacting with them is a very tough task. So those who are all very much interested. We are working in the out of school time. So, but as a girl children, we are facing one more obstacle. The parents are not cooperating to allow them in out of school time. So we are getting the permission from the parents, and we are working on that. Then most of the students are very much interested. First thing, we have to educate the parents and how it will workful in, I mean, what are all the advantages and what are all the merits in that Atal Tinkering Lab. As said, the Rama ma'am told, no, whenever the appreciation comes, we put it in the banner, we put it in the notice board. Those are all in that drone experiment, and we went to IIT Madras and visited the biotech lab also. So those things are picturized out explicitly. Then all are asking, why don't we join? Why don't we join? So in this summer camp, we have plenty of students with their own online sessions. It's going on gaming. They invented, I mean, they hosted 5 to 6 new created the scratch game programs. So they are participated in that also. I'm proud to say. So as first thing, anything it won't come as easy as. So first we have to struggle. So this is a extra burden for the teachers only. But despite of that, they have to take care of this is the advantages. This is the new digital world we are living. So this is all the very good opportunity to learn more apart from the curriculum. It is very useful to the curriculum also. So my humble request is all the teachers has to understand this is a mandatory one. So humble request to you also, please make it as a part of your curriculum. So we have to evaluate or give a credibility or at some added point, just like sports quota is there, no? If they got it some certification in Atal, if they innovated one small anything else. So you have to, we are giving the certificates and appreciation, but it has to be recognized as a evaluation part also. If we give in that added in that evaluation, so all the children, if at all they are good in academic, so they are telling, oh, I have to waste the time in Atal. So I will come on, I will concentrate after the 8th standard level, because we are very focused only in academic side. So whatever you are getting the marks in the mark sheet, that will speaks. So they are not interested in getting till 8th, they are very much interested. After getting into 9th and board exam, 10th, 11th, 12th and all, so they are little bit scary. So ma'am, I can't do it because of I have a public exam, board exams like that. I am facing. So similar to that, all in CBSE or in any other board also. So that's what we have to make them to understand that utility and usefulness of the lab. Then definitely this will be a good era in forward, sir.
Excellent. So I think you brought out some very important points. One is that is an initial challenge for schools to be able to qualify themselves, provide the necessary documents, but which are very important because it's a government grant. It is a 20 lakh grant which is being given. And therefore, there are certain due diligence and there are certain processes to be followed. But any suggestions that you or anyone else has on how to simplify that process, please feel free to write to me and I will see how we can act upon that. And can we simplify any of the documentation process? But what 90% I have found is that most of the people don't read it properly. And once you read the requirements, the rules, it is very simple. In fact, when we ask for a document, many times we say clearly with some videos also that this is what we expect. But again, people make the same mistake because either they have not heard it properly, read it properly. For example, we will say, give it on your letterhead, and people will give without on a letterhead. We'll say we need it stamped, and they will not, the signature and stamp should be on all page, and it won't be there. And these are mechanisms for us to ensure that the school, because we are not visiting the school before giving an Atal Tinkering Lab. We are going by documentation and your application. And 20 lakhs is being given just based on that. So it is very important to follow some of these processes. But when you, if there are any suggestions on these procedures, you can feel free to give it to me, and not only you, but anybody else. But I think 2 or 3 important points that you brought. One, you have systematized the process of access to an Atal Tinkering Lab in your school. And that is wonderful. You know, having every class having 40 minutes or 50 minutes and getting exposed to the tinkering lab. And those students who are interested, you are supporting them further after school hours. And one of the challenges you said in a girls' school is parents are not very willing. So it is very important that parents understand the importance of Atal Tinkering Lab. So I would recommend that every school conducts a parent meet where they show them the entire lab, show what the children are getting exposed to, give share a speech or something on what, and I'll be happy to record a video and send it to you, especially addressing the parents, that why is the Atal Tinkering Lab so important in the life of a student and how it helps them in the future. It is not just getting marks and getting into university or getting some marks and going into a university abroad. It is helping them become innovative, and no matter where they go, it is going to help them because they are now a creative, innovative person and not a person who will just do what somebody is asking them to do. They question the status quo. They want to look at how I can improve some certain things, and that is the value that they start bringing wherever they are. So this is a very important observation that the parents need to know. I think I have one suggestion, maybe you're already doing it. Maybe among the parents, get some volunteer parents who are willing to spend maybe an hour or so, share the time when the children are after school hours, they are in the school, because then the parent feels comfortable that another parent is there overseeing the children and the safety of the children is assured and so on. So you can reach out to the parents and say, we want a voluntary group of parents who can do that. And their presence will not only be a sense of comfort, but it will also spread the word around, because parents talk to each other and they'll say, hey, this is really good. I saw this innovation happening, and this girl did such a fantastic thing, or this boy did such a fantastic thing, and so on. And therefore, that awareness also grows. And I think it's very important, like you said, the recognition part. We are working with AICTE and the university system to see that students who get recognition through the school challenges, certificates for the challenges or tinkering challenges of the month, or the tinkering fest or the tinkering marathon, that gets some sort of recognition in the admission to the university wherever they are going. And I think things like what Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan is doing, getting the universities see what is happening in the tinkering lab. So if 5 or 6 universities are next to your school, get them to come and give a talk to the students. So they will also say, hey, students from this school are really getting exposed to innovation, and it would be great for this student to come to our university. So there has to be this pull and push factor, which I think you can enable to the closest universities around you. Now, I go back to Dr. Rama. Dr. Rama, some of the challenges that she mentioned, that how do you get, the students, you may have 60 students, but not all of them may become innovative, or they would have the innovative bent of mind. But everybody is a potential innovator. How do you draw those students who are not showing interest into this system and making them aware of their potential? Because one other thing that has come to our observation is that the best innovators are not necessarily the ones who are scoring high academic marks. Yeah, there are people who are not scoring well in marks, but they are very good in innovation. So how do you identify them, and how do you draw them in, and how do you incentivize them?
Yeah, that is a challenge, because we need to watch all of the students. And once we have a smaller number of students who are regularly coming into ATS, then we see a lot of students who don't speak, but then they will come in and they'll be working with their hands. And I think it's very important to spend enough sufficient time with the students. And more than me, I think Bhagya does an excellent job. She's able to draw out even the quiet students. So yeah, it is a challenge, but what I have seen is there are some students who will speak out in the class, but then there are only some students who are very committed about coming again and again and again and actually doing things. And I think we need to recognize such contributions. I hope because that's a challenge that we are regularly working with.
So you have to draw them out, and you have to be able to detect that capability in them, and then allow that to blossom in some manner.
Appreciate them. I think positive strokes really help students to come up.
So
So
I'm very happy about one point that you mentioned, and that this is very important. How frequent is your interaction with Dr. Bhagyalakshmi? And what's the sort of interaction you have prior to the you visiting the class or post you visiting the class? What is the sort of information exchange you have so that you are very effective as a mentor and she becomes very effective as an ATL in charge? What is, can you share, throw a little bit of light on that?
yeah, so I have set Friday afternoons for the Atal Tinkering Labs. So I do an hour and a half, 2 sessions in the school. So I usually contact her by Monday or Tuesday and tell her this is what I'm planning to do and what does she think. And she gives me a feedback that maybe there is a quarterly test coming up, so this is not a good time to come. Or she says maybe not this topic, some other topic. She tells me that, and I prepare that, and we ensure that the LCD monitor and all those things are working, and then I come on Friday. So we usually chat over the phone.
So that is the operational part.
Yeah.
What about the exchange that you have post session? That supposing you find, hey, this student, in the process of mentoring, you may find there are other issues that the student is facing, as a result of which their focus on the innovation is not there. Or you may find that somebody has really done a fantastic job, and maybe the teacher doesn't know that this is a high potential student who has very innovative ideas. So, how do you exchange that sort of information? And is there such information that you exchange?
Yeah, so so these things happen when we have a mentoring team project. So there's a deadline, and invariably we work only on the last 2 days. So those are days that we spend extra time. And so during that time, but it's the other way. I find some students are extremely good. Then she tells me, oh, she's very good, but I don't think she has the commitment. So Bhagya has an insight onto the students' potential, and she will pick up and create groups of students who will get along with each other. So I trust Bhagya's suggestions a lot. And usually, we give a couple of ideas, so students will go back, modify it, come back to us. So usually only when there is a mentoring team, we sit together and discuss. And then we also discuss on which students to take with us for a day out and other things. So we do have discussions with each other post session.
Okay, excellent. So I go back to Bhagya. I think the point that you brought out is she has a very good idea about some of the background information you need on a student when you observe certain things, right? And she shares that with you. Now, Bhagya, my question to you is that uh, a class is composed of 60 students, and then you have 300, 400 students, and so on. How many of these students finally show consistent commitment to the cause of innovation, and how do you motivate them further, and how do you ensure that they feel rewarded because of their commitment, and what do you do for the rest of the students who you feel have the, like, for example, the example she gave, this person has the talent but not the commitment. So what is the background stuff that you do? And you have to do it because you cannot go and tell this is going to help you get good marks. That's not the way the student is going to be convinced. But you have to tell them something else so that they say, hey, I am wasting the potential that I have within me, and I should give expression to this potential. So what is the thing that you do in the background to make sure more and more students become innovative and get into the innovation bandwagon?
Well, sir, actually, first of all, each and every students will come and participate in the regular classes. So weekly once they have to compel, that is a compulsory one. So in that we will give only a play-by method of teaching. So not we are interacting with the direct components. This is a resistor, this is a transistor, nothing else. So glowing a bulb or making a greetings like that. So our Dell team is having an efficient and proper curriculum to motivate them for the standard levels, 6th, 7th, 8th level, how to approach them and how to grab the students to the lab. That is fine. So first of all, the introductory section, we will have an entire mass. From that, as a teacher, I am full-fledged, full time I am available at school. So there, I mean, I am that also. Plus, I have to free to the students. So I have to freely approachable. So that is the one main point. So all will approach anytime. So they will in the midnight also. They, this COVID time, the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock also, they text me, ma'am, this is the correct. Is it okay? So that much friendliness is very important, sir. So they will come and approach me. Then after that, from the apart from, I mean, as what you said is the in academic side they might be very weak, but the creativity and the inside potential will be there. So I choose. I will identify along with Rama ma'am or and with our Dell mentors. So and I will spoke with my colleagues also, those who are all handling the session. So I am not for all. I can't deal with all the students. So from their help also we will choose. Each session, each class we have a Atal team, Atal group. With that they will discuss something. We will put just a word. Next week you have to come across. That is the higher order thinking level. So each every session is closing. No, in the end we will give the assignments. So next session you have to come with this out of curriculum, out of that, anything in the outside world, newspaper, something like that, I used to give. So what they will do is they will go and they will discuss in their group. So the others know, those who are all interested, but they are not showing their interest to Atal Lab, coming to Atal Lab, they will come next day. Ma'am, you gave the task to them. So why don't I also join? Like that, so it's created. We created one with 30 members. Now it's become 150. So so just we're proud to say that all are very interested. But one thing, their background, the social background, and their affordability to spend in the internet or something like that is not sufficient. In this time, COVID time also, I have potential student of 30 to 40, but they are in village, rural villages. They went to because of the COVID threat, they went to their native places. I couldn't find their places. So as a government teacher, I am facing, I'm identifying, and they are very eager, but they can't spare time in their home. That is a major issue in that. So for that, we will provide something like laptops or tabs to their home. That will be helpful. That Atal team innovators. That is my one request. So after identifying the students, so we are encouraging, we are giving our resources, we are motivating. So it's going on, sir. So each and every event, what tell me, sir.
My suggestion is, please send me a note on this, on how one can help, what sort of help, at least for some innovative students whom you see in the rural places who are not having an access to a laptop or whatever, etc. And I will see through our partner connection how we can facilitate any of that and so on. Okay. So you please send me that, because we don't want a potential innovator and a committed innovator not to be able to have access to online tinkering, tinker from home modules and all of that during these times or even otherwise. So please send me a note and I'll be more than happy to look at that. But I think the important point that you brought about is your accessibility and your own commitment. I really think the success of an Atal Tinkering Lab is totally dependent on the commitment of the Atal in charge, ATL in charge, as well as the mentor of change who is associated with them. Because unless the teacher and the mentor are accessible to all the students, create an atmosphere of approachability, friendliness, wanting to help, willing to appreciate, willing to understand their problems. If you don't create that atmosphere, the lab will not succeed. Now, two other things I want to ask you, Ms. Bhagyalakshmi. One is, personally, I think it is very important for the ATL dashboard to be fully updated at all times, because both you as well as the mentor can get to know how this progress is in the Atal Tinkering Labs. Are the students more participating? If you fill all the elements of the dashboard, come to know how many children are participating in external challenges. For example, I know that one of those girls' school, Devanagar in Arupattai or somewhere, they have actually won, the girls have won the national robotic competition. They have won the third prize and they got selected, and it's a government girls' school. and they are now been selected to go to London for the finals. And that is fantastic, to win a national robotic competition from one of the remote schools in India, and at the same time get selected to go to London is such a prestigious thing for the student as well as for the school. Similarly, many of the students were able to go to Sirius, who won in the Atal Tinkering Marathon. And it was a very proud moment for me when I was with them and they were interacting with the President Putin, and they were interacting with the Prime Minister, and some of them interacted with the President of a country. It was very proud to see how the children so confidently are talking about their innovation, their ideas, with no sort of hesitation, with no sort of fear, with a sort of eagerness to share. And this is what we want in every school. Every school, every student should have this enthusiasm that I want to be learning from this tinkering lab. And I think some of the mechanisms or methodologies you're adopting, that you said initially I had only 13 students enrolled and now I have 150 students enrolled, by creating a competitive spirit. Like the students suddenly said, are we being left out? We also want to be part of the crowd and doing all of that. So tell me the importance of this dashboard, the GEM, access to GEM, and making sure that the vendors accept. Because another thing we are very wary about is that the school should not get influenced by any vendor for any saying that we are the preferred vendor and so on. Of course, we want the vendors to succeed, and they should provide high quality tinkering lab equipment as well as services to you. But that's why we have advocated the process of following GEM for ordering all the equipment, and the dashboards for us to be able to get a quantitative idea. How difficult is it for you to keep up to date with all of this as an ATL in charge?
Yes, sir. Not, but the dashboard completions is not at all a big deal. So we have that everyday mandate, everyday attendance in our lab. What and all we are doing, we are monitoring. Recorded. So in the month end, now it's changed to 5th. Before 5th, we have to submit. Correct. So online, I will do it at my home also, no problem at all. So if we are touching with the data.
No wonder you have been recognized as School of the Month, I think twice, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, congratulations to you.
Thank you, sir. So because we are doing my work perfect, so not for our appreciation, but I am very grateful to that. But if I am touching with that Atal lab, so the dashboard filling up is not at all a big task. So how many of them are participated in this month? How many participated in the events or anything else? So that's what the Atal Incharge has to, as on date and every time we have to get in touch with that Atal lab. That's it. If it is, that is okay. So in regarding this GEM portals, if it, we pursued everything, purchased everything previously. If it is mandatory things, we will order in that. So that also a good. This year only we introduced that GEM portal. So that's new coming Atal labs can utilize.
GEM portal.
Very good. Yeah, GEM portal.
Also, how often does your principal, I may be putting you in a spot here, but how often does the principal get involved in the Atal Tinkering Lab reviews and so on?
Actually, any important events, whenever our mentor Rama ma'am comes, we will have one great celebration only. So she will come along with her colleagues. So one time drone event, one time has six had motivations, and otherwise outside IIT visit or her college visit, something like that. Each and every event, I will invite my principal. So she is also very cooperative. And if it is anything innovative, our student itself directly, she is also a very approachable teacher. So they will go to straight and tell them, ma'am, I did it in Atal lab. Even a small thing, they will.
I'm very happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that. Again, I request all the principals and the teacher, the ball is in the court of the Atal in charge, should ensure that the principal at least once a month gets an opportunity to review and even recognize some of the students who are doing well. That itself will be a great motivation for all the other students. They will want to get recognized, and also a photograph with the principal in the Atal Tinkering Lab, which you can share on the website, and you can share it with the Atal Innovation Mission, and we'll put it up on our website. These are things that you should do so that the principal also sees what she needs to do from a manager, or he or she needs to do from a management point of view. And also, I hope you are ensuring that other teachers get to know what is happening in the lab. And maybe, once in a while, teachers can take a turn in just being present in the lab and seeing what is happening, because then they will get a true appreciation. Otherwise, teachers will say, oh, my student is focusing only on the lab and not focusing on the class. And,
Yes.
we need them to get the buy-in, and their ideas and contribution will also be very useful in all of this.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
I go back to Dr. Rama. You are a regional mentor of change, and therefore, how do you draw upon and you are coordinating activities related to various mentors? Number one, how is that going on? And from your point of view, is it having a desired effect? The whole idea was to connect you all in groups so that you all can share best practices, learn from each other, discuss problems to be solved, and so on. So that is one. And the second is, what are your suggestions on how this can be made more effective?
Yeah.
You use the InnoNet portal, and if you're using it, how useful is that, or what suggestions do you have regarding the usage of the InnoNet portal?
Yeah, the InnoNet portal is straightforward. I'm using it whenever I do a session. I post things. I think Tamil Nadu has a largest number of regional mentors of change. So we all have a group, and we do discuss with each other. We had a meeting. I think the biggest advantage of the meeting is so I've been able to interact with Prashant Nair, who's from Coimbatore, and who did share some of the programs that they have been doing. So we get opportunity to see what others are doing and how they are practicing. So that is an advantage that we have. So, but I must admit that we were not leveraged it to the maximum effect because of the lockdown. We've had one Zoom meeting, and we had a plan to have a meeting in the rural area, because we've noticed that a lot of activity gets done only in Chennai, but actually we need to go out and have a focus on the rural school areas. So some of our mentors are in rural areas. Mr. Venkatapati is from Udumalpet region. So we do have a plan of going there and meeting up and see how we can learn. So I think the biggest advantage is learning from each other, how they work with the students. Yeah.
Excellent. And also, I just wanted to know, are we encouraging the art student and the commerce student and the biology student in these Atal Tinkering Lab? Because the Tinkering Lab is a place of innovation, and innovation calls for a combination of art, design, science, technology, all to come together in an innovation. Any innovation, great innovation, is also a work of art. The aesthetics part, the design part, the user interface part, they can only come by people who are sensitive to all of this, and who are, for example, the iPhone is a work of, as much a work of art as it is of science and technology. And the ease of use and the comfort feel, the lightness of it, everything comes into the picture. And Steve Jobs often used to go to art museums and to Xerox, he used to study calligraphy in order to see how the font should be on the MacBook or on the iPhone and so on. So how do you, and there is this beautiful book called Fuzzy and the Techie, where the techie is the engineer, the fuzzy is the arts and the management student. In the fuzzy world, there is no clear boundaries. In a techie world, there are very clear assumptions, boundaries, and so on. Those who are in an engineering world, they work to very precise numbers and precise calculations and precise assumptions. Whereas in a fuzzy world, which is the real world that we live in, many things there are too many parameters which can go out of hand. So even if you assume certain things about the parameters under control, all of these change. And that is where the person of intuition and the person of scientific temperament, both of them can come together and contribute to the innovation. So how do you ensure that you are drawing in, and this is a question both for you as well as with Bhagyalakshmi, is how do you bring all these streams into an Atal Tinkering Lab and tell them that everyone has an opportunity to contribute?
Yeah, so this is a challenge that we face even in a higher education system. So, you know, so even in a normally innovation and other things are seen to be mainly science and technology. Even even funding agencies say that they will give funding only for science and technology students. So that is a problem that we face, and yeah, so sixth, seventh, and eighth, there is no demarcation. So this is something that we all have to discuss and see how we can solve, because after a student comes into ninth and 11th and 12th, so the science and science students, actually it's very difficult to get time for the science from the science students. So in some schools, I have seen in one of the schools nearby that Satyan Bhatt from Learning Links is working with. He's been able to convince the principal, and so 11th and 12th standard students are coming into the Atal Tinkering Labs and experimenting. But it takes the science teacher to be convinced that the students will benefit by coming into Atal Tinkering Lab and actually thinking. So that is a mindset that we think, that we have to create. See, I feel that the best output from an Atal Tinkering Lab is to ensure that the students, increase their self-esteem because of the recognition and are brave enough to think. So the one time that we took a group of students from JGVV to an IIT Madras laboratory, it was a treat. The professor there was so excited because the students were asking so many questions. This was a lab on a small worm called C. elegans. And after the students saw that, they were asking, how does it sleep? What does it eat? And, one of the research scholars said it's a hermaphrodite. So the child asked, are you sure? So that questioning mind is what I think is very important. So I think what we need to focus on is to make students feel, they have a higher self-esteem, know that, if they do something good, they will be recognized, and they need to ask questions. I think these are the focus points that we should get out of an Atal Tinkering Lab. I think once a child and the parents see the benefits, I think the child will definitely be able to pester the parent to get them a small laptop or uh, I think it is possible. The government also has systems where 11th and 12th standard students get laptops. So I think, it's a push and pull system. So I think we will be able to get more money into the system. And, about getting these arts and other students, we have to see, a lot of students from the 10th standard. I hope in the 11th and 12th, I hope they still like to come back to the Atal Lab, and maybe we are able to use the business pitch model and the entrepreneurship model to keep them engaged. So we have to see how it goes.
Yeah, and in fact, I think if you see any, for example, you go to very many countries across the world, and many of the children have gone already and they started traveling. You will see beautiful buildings which are work of art, and you need an artistic mind as well as you need a designer's mind to be able to conceive. And at the same time, you need the knowledge of technology to see how you can bring together. So, any innovation tomorrow is going to be an integral art, science, commerce, technology based innovation, and innovation which can have an impact. And as you rightly said, the purpose of the Atal Tinkering Lab is to cause a change of mindset, not getting marks alone. Getting marks is important, and getting good marks is important. But I am sure if the school is doing some research on all the students are doing well in Atal Tinkering Lab, I'm sure 100% of them will be excelling in studies also. And vice versa, if they are participating as excellent students academically, if they participate in Tinkering Lab, they'll do even better. So this correlation, if it is developed, then it becomes an easy acceptance for the parents, for the teachers, and for the school. And at the same time, the second important point that you said is what Adult Tinkering Labs helps is making the student confident. I have been there. I have been an innovator. I have created this product. This is a product of my creation. I can create many more things. So the sense of confidence that it fills in a student is enormous. I mean, it is unbelievable the type of transformation that can happen within the student. And he believes in himself. And as Swami Vivekananda said, if you believe in 1,000 gods and goddesses, but do not believe in yourself, then you're doomed. So what the Atal Tinkering Labs does is gives you the chance and the ability to believe in yourself, your creativity, your innovation, and your potential to become a job creator of the future. And that is what we are all aiming at. Bhagyalakshmi, any closing words to all of this, and your piece of encouragement to all the others in the audience as to how they should look upon Atal Tinkering Lab and what they can do?
Yes, sir. Actually, this is the startup stage we are in. So our journey will be a big one, a big voyage. So motivate each and everyone and involve as much as possible. How much you will put it effort into that. So there is no point of it's a technically sounded person only will get that. That also there in a team in colleagues level. No, so I am not a science staff, so I can't do it. So everything is reachable only. Everything is in on our hand. So it's a digitalized India. So we will do it, sir. So if we have the will, there is a way. So definitely we will succeed our Atal aim.
So where there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
What we need to do is motivate. We need to jointly explore. We want to nurture the innovation talent of the students,
Students as well as
expose
the
them to the opportunities that are out there. We want them to have great belief in themselves, and we want them to become very, very successful in life. Not just successful in studies, but successful in life and problem solving. And we want them to become a great contributor to society, to the state, and to the nation, and to the world at large. So, with this, Himanshi, I turn it over back to you. I want to thank both Bhagyalakshmi and Rama for an excellent interaction. I have learned a lot in this process. It has been a revelation to me in terms of the type of commitments that people have brought to the Atal Tinkering Lab. And I'm sure with such commitment and all the other ATL in charges, the principals and the mentors, this movement cannot but be a rip-roaring success. So with that, Himanshi, I'll turn it over back to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this amazing session. I was going to ask questions at the end, but all of you answered almost all the questions that I had gotten. So you touched upon all the different aspects of things we wanted to talk about. Thank you, Rama ma'am and Bhagyalakshmi ma'am, for also joining us. And we had a wonderful audience as well. Thank you so much to all the mentors and ATL in charges who joined the session this Saturday.
Thank you. All of you be safe and have a great weekend.